There's room in Cumbria to really grow the productivity of the visitor economy.
You want the young people to stay in the area, but in order to do that, there needs to be the jobs there in the first place.
Hello, I'm Jamie Allison, Head of Cumbria at Napthon Solicitors, and you're listening to the Brief Conversations podcast. Today we're talking about Cumbria and the challenges and opportunities the county faces, and given that it welcomes over 47 million visitors a year and supports over 65,000 jobs, I'm joined by two important people to the area, Jill Haig, who's the Managing Director of Cumbria Tourism, and John Horton from ALAM Associates. I just want to kick around a few questions today, and the first one I want to open up with is, how can Cumbria compete on the international stage as a place for inward investment, and what do you think its key strengths are? Jill?
Yeah, I'm happy to have a go at that. So I think that you set it out already. We are the most popular destination outside of London in the UK, and what we have seen over the last few years is a real increase in terms of international visitors. So I think the international market is a big opportunity for us, but also staycation and trying to attract more people from areas, different areas I suppose. So we get a lot of people that come from the north and the northeast and the Birmingham area, but increasingly we're seeing a lot more visitors that are choosing to visit here from the southeast. What we're not about is just increasing numbers per se, as in heads of people, but what we are about is increasing the value of tourism to the county. And we have 47 million visits per year, and so that can be people who are within the county, who are going out to Carlisle for the day or whatever it might be. What we want to do is increase the number of people that are staying overnight, because that's where the real profitability comes from. And if you are staying overnight, can we extend your stay from 3 nights to 4 nights to 5 nights? And can we also make sure that that's spread across the county and really encourage productivity to grow in areas of the county that aren't yet experiencing it? And one more, can we also encourage more visits and staying visits in the shoulder months of the year? So there's room in Cumbria to really grow the productivity of the visitor economy all year round and county-wide, and I think that's a huge opportunity for us going forwards.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely spot on, and given the amount of people it employs, there's something for everyone all year round, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you see in the market?
To build on everything that Jill's just said there as well, that then sort of creates those interesting questions of how do you go about facilitating those people sort of coming, and it's not just kind of making sure they've got places to stay and visitor attractions to go to. It's the kind of more wider infrastructure as well, isn't it? You know, Cumbria's only got a very small handful of hospitals, and there's sort of a finite resources in terms of, or finite space rather, in terms of sort of road space and people being able to get in and out of the county with ease and making it accessible. So yeah, it's a very interesting one for businesses then to kind of be able to be in that position to react to that kind of thing, and it's only for the positive, really.
I think the challenges, you're right, there are challenges, and in any opportunity, to seize an opportunity fully, you've really got to look at what are the layers that we need to peel back in order to really drive that boost to the economy. But some of the challenges, whether it is around, not so much about how do you get here, because actually the rail network, and we are well placed, aren't we? But more about how do we move not just the visitors around, but also the workers around, yes. And the sort of punctuality of and the frequency and the connectivity of the public transport network, but also issues like mobile and digital connectivity, and these aren't just issues for the tourism sector; these are issues for Cumbria.
Yeah.
And going on from that, how do we make sure that we've got enough people here to fill the jobs that we have got? I do think if we can create an all year round visitor economy, that will help, because we won't be relying so much on part-time work, and as we know, that's very fluid. But how do we retain more young people and encourage them to stay in the county and invest their education and their skills here to really help drive our economy.
Yeah, no, that's a really important point, isn't it?
And that's one thing we habitually hear from businesses and employers in terms of, actually recruiting and retaining talent. And there's some great examples as to what's going on. What do you think should be done as a recruitment drive to get young people either to stay in the county, if they've been raised and bred here, or to attract people in because there is a skill shortage, be it in industry, be it in the tourism sector? What would you say the number one thing would be, Jill?
I've got two.
Okay, go ahead.
I think one is, and this will come out of the government's recently announced tourism sector deal. I think one, there needs to be a really high profile national campaign which recognises that the hospitality industry is a fantastic career opportunity for people with a real diversity. You know, you and I both know someone, Jamie, who's employed somebody to work out the mood music to go in a restaurant. I mean, who knew? And that restaurant's doing extremely well. I think it's probably because of the mood music, and the food, obviously. But you know, it can be in marketing, it can be in HR, it can be in accounts, as well as sort of front of house or whatever it needs to be. So I think there needs to be a national campaign that really sells the industry. But alongside that, within Cumbria, we were just talking before the interview about working with the schools and colleges, but there just doesn't seem to be yet a really coherent, joined-up approach between the schools, the colleges, and the HE sector in terms of if I was 15, 16 and thinking about my career opportunities, how do I know what the opportunities are in Cumbria? And how do I know what the steps are that I have to take? Do I have to navigate between all those different organisations and work it out myself, or is there a way we can bring that together?
Yeah, fair points.
Absolutely.
And what do you see, John? Because you're very involved in project management, deploying personnel in industry. What's your view?
I think it's a very much a chicken and egg situation in the fact that you want the young people to stay in the area. But in order to do that, there needs to be the jobs there in the first place. And, you know, as Jill touched on, there's a lot of sort of supporting work that goes into creating a good tourism offer within the Lake District. And that's predominantly through hospitality and leisure, which sort of at the moment is quite sort of a transient workforce, isn't it? And it's not necessarily seen in the same way as, you know, a career. It is a profession. You know, being able to deliver good service is an absolutely necessary profession, and I think you've just got to be able to make sure that there is the scope to offer that to people within the industry, and also make sure that there are sort of the sufficient job offerings within Cumbria and making sure that people are happy to stay up here.
I think as well, you know, for young people, we've got to be really honest and to say that if you're thinking about staying here, can you buy a house? And so I think affordability and availability of accommodation is a big issue. And as the National Park are going for their local plan consultation, one of the things that Cumbria Tourism's lobbied quite hard about is increasing the amount of affordable housing that there is. They're also wanting that mobile and digital connectivity. If you're a young, creative, innovative person, and you can nip on that train or that plane down to London once or twice a week, can you base your business here the rest of the week? Yeah. And digital connectivity, mobile connectivity is a really important part of that. And then, you know, the kind of we've got this fantastic place, and I'm looking around the room where we're filming today at all the posters of the kind of opportunities to really immerse yourself in the landscape. So we've got all of that that's going on. It's brilliant, great place to bring up kids. But people are wanting, as well as that, culture and arts, and that's a real strength in Cumbria that we perhaps don't make enough of.
Okay, and so just on the public realm asset base up here, because we've got hundreds of things, if I ask you what your favourite two public realm assets were, what would they be, John?
It's any one of the lakes that we've got up here. They're all fantastic and they're all beautiful in their own right. Some of them are more busy than others. In terms of tourist attractions, I recently went over to Sizer Castle, which I've never been to. That was a fantastic place. It's a National Trust property. and Blackwell, I think, as well. Blackwell, the Arts and Crafts House. That's absolutely fantastic there. But I'm quite into my art and design, so that really fulfills it for me. But, you know, there's something for everyone in Cumbria, I'm sure.
Yes, absolutely.
I think it depends what you want to do, really. And I'm going to go outside the national park, and I'm going to go somewhere like Morecombe Bay. And along the bay, I think the bay is an extraordinary undersold asset at the moment. And I'm excited to see what impact the Eden project in Morecombe when that comes through, fingers crossed.
Fantastic.
What that will do in terms of really opening up the reputation of the Cumbrian side of the bay, and and obviously into the Lancashire side. There's areas like Peel Island, really amazing place to discover. Warney Island, lots of places where you can go, where you just get you get a different aspect, but it's still Cumbria.
Yeah, I agree. Fabulous place.
Can I just mention the food and drink as well? Because I think the food and drink offer in Cumbria is absolutely fantastic. We match alongside Yorkshire in terms of our Michelin stars, but it doesn't just have to be a Michelin star restaurant. The Cumbrian producers create fantastic product, and our restaurateurs do an amazing job of bringing that to the plate for us.
We're very, very lucky. I often say to my friends when they come visit, it's if you go off to a city, it's chain after chain after chain, whereas you get quite spoilt up here in the fact that you can go to a whole host of independent restaurants and find something, something for everyone and something really kind of unique to that area, and it's being sourced locally and homemade, all that kind of stuff. It's far better.
Well, the one thing I've really enjoyed over the last few years is watching some of our producers grow and thrive, and there's two in a couple of breweries. There's Hawkshead Brewery that's gone from strength to strength, changed hands and gone to another level. But then we've also got another one in Kendal, Morecombe Bay Brewing, and I think it's symptomatic of the psyche of some of the operators here, where they get stuck in and seize the opportunity. And if you look at some of the products that both those businesses have produced, they've got the provenance of the area, they attach names of the area to the products, and it's just fantastic to see.
And with World Heritage status as well for the Lake District, as well as Hadrian's Wall, the National Park Partnership, World Heritage Steering Group have really led in terms of helping and supporting suppliers like Hawkshead Relish and others to take that World Heritage brand and utilise that to really add value, to further that value to product. So there's lots of opportunities there. There's a toolkit there that businesses can just pick up now and use to help to grow the value of their product.
Yeah, it's a great benefit. And just talking internationally then for a moment, we can't ignore the success of the Carlisle Lake District Airport. How do you think that's going to help us put an international stamp on our place to be?
Well, it's a good sort of stepping stone between sort of the international airports, isn't it? It won't obviously take international flights at the moment, but in terms of opening that door to those people flying into, I think it's Belfast and Dublin, and it takes flights out of London as well, doesn't it? So it definitely makes it more accessible to people. You were saying before, Jill, about people pretty much coming from Birmingham north, whereas that kind of really opens the gates and sort of lets people get in and sort of see the Lake District for the beauty that it is.
Yeah, I mean, if you were speaking to Kate Willard today here from the airport, what she would be saying is, apart from anything else, it's a real vote of confidence and a stamp of confidence for the county. The airports don't open, and here we have an amazing, beautiful sort of micro airport, but with huge ambitions. And I was there at the launch a couple of weeks ago, and it was really interesting speaking to passengers that were there about how they see it as a real gateway to the US. It's a huge opportunity. There's free parking there. There's real ease of experience there. You're not going to get caught up in some of the busyness of some of the bigger airports. And big ambitions, like you say, to fly out through into Europe through London Southend. So I think watch this space with the airport, but as a starting point, fantastic vote of confidence for the area.
I agree.
And it was lovely to see leisure and business passengers using it on day one.
So can you give us some stats, Jill, in terms of foreign visitors? Where do they emanate from?
Yeah, I can have a go. So just over 10% of our visitor population are international visitors, and they're European, and they are increasingly from China, Asia, US, Japan, and we're just now, Cumbria Tourism's just launched an India forum because that's a really important emerging market. We had some fun during the Cricket World Cup, bringing a whole range of CEOs from Indian travel companies across who absolutely loved this area. So there's huge opportunity for us in terms of the international market. And what's really important about them is they tend to come, well, a lot of them will come not necessarily in the sort of main summer season, so that's an opportunity for us, and they spend more. So that's an area where I think nationally the government sees a real opportunity for UK PLC, and certainly we in Cumbria see it as an opportunity for us.
And as an international business in ALAM Associates, when you are talking to businesses further afield, do they recognise where HQ is in Cumbria Lonsdale?
Do you know, we pretty much have to point it out using sort of somewhere between Lancaster and Carlisle as the two main trig points. Yeah. people do understand it when they say the Lake District as well. Yeah, but it's about making people more aware that, you know, we are ourselves personally, we're a very viable business, and we just happen to be in the Lake District. And obviously we're looking to strengthen our connections with other businesses in the Lake District and kind of really help that offering in terms of, you know, we've talked a lot about tourism, but making kind of a really good place to live and keep young people within the county. I mean, you know, one of the things that we've just launched is a degree apprenticeship scheme, and that's been fantastic. It's been received really well sort of from the local schools, and some sort of universities which are very close to the local area anyway. And obviously we're looking to, if it's a success, run that sort of every year. So again, it addresses kind of two things, you know, keeping people in the area, creating jobs, but also stopping that brain drain from happening and people going elsewhere. I mean, I can't talk because I did it myself. I went out of county to go to university. I did, I came back. I'm back here.
One thing that, again, is a repeated topic when discussing Cumbria and the Lake District is infrastructure.
Yeah.
What do you think the most important aspect is that we need to get right? Jill?
I think that we need to get the connectivity right. I think that's the most important aspect. So we've got great connectivity to the county, and we have connectivity to parts of the areas within, but I think it is about joining that up in a way that, from a visitor perspective, makes the sustainable travel, a really enjoyable part and meaningful part of their holiday experience. So I think that Cumbria, and certainly in the hospitality tourism sector, there's that ambition, but I think there's a lot of work to do still before we get that completely right. But that must be the ambition.
Mm-hmm. I think from an infrastructure point of view, I'm going to take it slightly outside of sort of physical infrastructure and go for, you know, what about if we want people to come here, we need to be able to have jobs, and we need to then have the houses for them, and we need to then also make things more sustainable in terms of, I don't know, whether looking at renewable energy sources. Obviously we've got a big sort of massive energy sector thing on the West Coast, which I don't know if we can mention, but, you know, it's a major employer. And it's a very much a part of Cumbria, and you know, from a lot of the work that we do, you know, we work quite closely within the nuclear industry, because you have to, in terms of an industry round here, it is one of the major employers, and sort of making sure that that offering is as attractive as possible, and as easy as possible. Again, it goes further, you know, making sure that you can get to work on time, sort of on some of the smaller trunk roads, or have access to facilities like hospitals within the county. Sort of we've got Carlisle Hospital and then some of the small hospitals dotted around as well, but up until a couple of years ago they were mostly for closing, weren't they? So yeah, it's about sort of securing those places for people, and so that they can actually live and work within the county.
Yeah, and I'd agree with that, and I think that, you know, the nuclear sector and the tourism sector, a lot of the challenges are the same challenges, and through the LEP and the new local industrial strategy, I think that alignment between what is it that we need for Cumbria PLC are very much similar issues. And equally, you know, we're down here today in South Lakes, where there's virtually no unemployment, and
That's
so there's
right.
a real challenge in terms of filling those jobs. And yet we've got pockets on the West Coast where there's real opportunity to bring some of those people into jobs.
Absolutely,
but we
yeah.
need that better
Yeah,
connectivity for them to be able to access it.
Agreed. Let me wrap up with one final question. We've covered a lot of topics there. What else do you think Cumbria should be famous for?
Building again on what you'd said before, Jill, about sitting in this fantastic room today and looking at the posters, just making people aware that it's not only a great place to visit, but it's a great place to live and do business with. You know, there's a lot of viable businesses in the area. So yeah, that would be my point anyway, making sure it's a great place to live and work.
I'm going to really reinforce that, because we are closer than you think. It's so easy to get out to the rest of the world from Cumbria, but you cannot find a better place to live, bring up your family and have a real healthy lifestyle and work-life balance.
I couldn't agree more. Thank you very much.
Thank you.